He has spent the last decade shaping how some of the most respected product-led companies think about design, marketing, and human behavior. Before Intercom, he helped define product and UX thinking at Facebook. And since then, he's been focused on one question: how do real people actually experience the things we build? At Intercom, Paul's work sits at the intersection of product design and go-to-market, especially as AI changes how teams build, communicate, and earn trust. Please welcome Paul Adams.
Hey, Jonathan, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. So first question, we're going to go right into it, and we're going to have a little bit of fun. Intercom posted a billboard in San Francisco in early 2023, and the caption of it was Intercom is the leader of AI. Intercom is the leader AI for customer service, right? Sorry, let me rephrase that one more time. Intercom is the leader in AI for customer service. That was the two part of the billboard. Super simple. And now when you go to your website, it's almost the exact same thing. And that was almost 2.5 ish years or so ago. Now on your website, Intercom is the AI customer service company. What are your opinions on the simplicities of marketing now? Because you guys are just going right into it and saying, this is who we are. It's not catchy. I mean, it is catchy, but it's not like clickbaity or anything like that. It's just straight to the point. This is who Intercom is.
Yeah, the billboard's a funny one. The billboard is to describe it to people who aren't familiar with it. It's white with black text. And the font, I don't know, is it Arial, but like the font is not a million miles away from it. And it looks a little bit like a Google slide. There was a bit of design finessing going on with it. But the process from which it came about, we basically were having this discussion internally. Like Intercom's 13, 14 years old. And we'd gone through this pretty extreme internal transformation to become an AI company. We were a SaaS company and it was brutal at times, this transformation that we changed everything, ripped up everything, ripped it over. So we're trying to communicate to the world that we're an AI company, a true AI company, not a SaaS company masquerading. Anyway, so what are we trying to communicate on this billboard? And we're very much like we're kind of students and fans of, I guess, the golden age of advertising, the kind of David Ogilvy's of the world and things like that. So we were trying to understand what's the key thing we're trying to communicate in the billboard. And there was two things, that we're an AI company and that we're focused on customer service. And in the end, it was Owen's idea, our co-founder and CEO. He said, just say that on the billboard. Like the way we'll cut through the noise, all the billboards look the same. They're like some kind of gradiented background and like some kind of a bit of catchphrasey, buzzwordy kind of slogan. We don't believe in any of that. We never really have. And I think actually marketing's changing quite dramatically, but I think we're going back to a world in which all marketing communications should sound like the words you use in real life. And you should say the things you would say to you and I right now. Stop trying to make things clever. You're just making it worse. So that was the genesis of it. We were like, just say the thing then. Like the billboard will stand out. It'll kind of cut through the noise. It'll be controversial. People will say it's not designed or hasn't been designed. Or people will say, you can't make a billboard like that. So that's where it came from. And I guess our marketing position since then has been reasonably consistent, which is why it's the same kind of 2 years later. We've on the product side focused a ton on performance, building a truly performant AI product, like objectively performant. And it's the number one in benchmarks and performance. And we think that's one of the defining characteristics of what will win the market. So we've persisted with it. We're actually changing it soon, but it's still there. Yeah, 2 years later.
That's cool. Yeah, that's really fun. And I would say, and this is just me talking, in my personal opinion, I do believe Intercom was the AI company before AI companies became really cool. At least you guys pushed it. I mean, how has that been for you, consistently pushing the trend of AI now that AI is pretty much integrated inside of everybody's everyday language?
Yeah, we've had a machine learning team here since, 2015, 2016. We had a product called Resolution Bot, which was a ML powered product, which is now rebranded as AI always. So we knew a lot about it, about the domain, with domain knowledge, expertise. We had a great team, a small team, but a really good machine learning team here. So when ChatGPT showed up, it was just one of those like before after moments, one way doors. It's like the iPhone moment of this new technology wave. So because we had expertise in house, on the ML side, Fergal, who runs the team, said to us, "This is it. This is the moment." And in Owen and our exec team, we have a bunch of people who are risk takers, and we like to make big bets. So we've actually bet the entire company on AI. It could have gone sideways. There've been false dawns like the metaverse before, so it wasn't like guaranteed that it was going to work out. But the fact that we did it early helped build a lead. The fact that we were prepared to rip up, we'd had like multiple quarters of decelerating growth, which kind of helped too. It's not like we had this crazy fast growing business to protect. We'd like 300 million in revenue. It's not that we'd nothing to kind of protect, but we kind of felt like in a way we'd nothing to lose. And so we made these big bets, these big strategic bets. If you fast forward to today, like a lot of this I think is a race. If you've got a really good product development team and building true AI products and know how to do that, then you're going to get your features copied like within weeks for sure, within a week sometimes even. And so like that's just the race. You can see it with other companies, other categories, whether it's coding tools, whether it's OpenAI and Anthropic, like anything that has market value, people use it, like it, think it's good, it's going to get copied. So like it was great for us that we were early, but in some way that's kind of inconsequential now because others have caught up, and good companies have been built, good AI companies have been built, and so our challenge is just to stay ahead.
Yeah. The next logical question to that is, well, how do you stay ahead?
Yeah, how do you stay ahead? We have obsessive focus on speed, to a fault, probably, to be honest, at times. But we like every day, how do we move faster? How do we move faster? How do we make faster decisions? How do we empower people to make decisions locally? How do we remove organizational cruft or things that don't need to be there? Like as a company gets bigger, it gets slower, and there's loads of reasons for that. I'm always telling people that when you add a person to a team, you're not adding a single person, you're adding relationships. So if you have like a 4-person team and you add a 5th person, you've added 4 new relationships. That's like 4 new ways in which the team can disagree with each other. So like, really just slows stuff down, and you end up with more docs, more meetings. It's just this like kind of crazy force, this gravity well that like will just suck the kind of speed out of the team. We're quite paranoid about that. We ship as fast as possible always. And kind of second thing, I guess, is we also kind of have an obsession with goals and goal setting and focus. And so always making sure everyone knows what the company objective is, what our company strategy is, how that breaks down into like 2 or 3 sub goals or sub areas, how that each one of those breaks down into like 2 or 3 teams, and then each person on the team. So everyone can ladder up and down all the time. Like today I'm doing X because our weekly goals are Y, because our monthly or quarterly thing. And so that, everyone knows their role and everyone's kind of like moving in the same direction. So that's kind of how we do it. A focus on goals and goal setting, strategic clarity, and a kind of a paranoia that we're too slow and that we always need to like remove things that will slow us down.
I want to get into the marketing world, but I'd be remiss if I didn't at least ask 2 additional questions about what you just said. I hear speed a lot. I also hear goals a lot. It's important to understand what speed actually is defined by you, right? Because I was reading through some notes and I saw that you and your team basically led a project that reshaped about 20 plus different types of updates, and it took 6 months to achieve that. To some companies, I'm sure that's like earth-shattering, amazing. To other companies, maybe it could have been done in a week. I don't know, right? So like, what does speed typically sound like or look like to you? Like, what is fast? Is it like within the hour? Is it from ideation to submission and completion in like a week? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, it's definitely relative to the size of the company and the kind of type of thing you're trying to build. Um, for example, Finn, our AI agent, is for customer service, and we could build features for Finn and ship them within a week or 2 weeks at
Mm,
times, if it's something smaller that we've high conviction in. High conviction comes from customer feedback. But we're currently expanding Fin to become a customer agent. So it's going to do sales, service, success. It's going to be like the single AI agent for an entire company. That is not something you're going to build in a week or two
no,
weeks,
absolutely
you
not.
know? So that's a many month long endeavor.
For sure.
But we're going to break that down, and we are breaking it down into like much smaller subsets. We'll get Finn to do like very specific roles, new types of things, new jobs, and then prove that out and kind of build it iteratively. But it's definitely relative. Like Intercom's a 1,000 person company,
Mm,
so like that's 1,000 people to kind of get on the same page. And if you're a 10 person startup, just the dynamics are entirely different. If a 10 person startup changes their product, everyone knows. They're just literally in the building, sitting around the
yeah.
same desks. If they've one salesperson, they'll know because they're literally just there.
Yeah.
We've like multiple hundred salespeople. So if we change the product, we need to tell them and explain why and explain what's happening. So that's obviously going to be slower, and there's definitely um, kind of two dimensions that are important to think about. Speed actually is probably the wrong term. Um, I think a lot about velocity or momentum. In other words, it's kind of speed, but it has additional attributes like in a specific direction. That's
Mm,
the kind of goals thing. Like we're all moving in a very specific direction. So that's like that's kind of like a really kind of important component of it.
yeah.
And then it's very easy to fall into the trap of like more haste, less speed. So it's a balance. I don't know if this is a kind of a good answer to your question, but there's certainly a balance to strike. And the way we would measure it internally is often just judgment. Like, does a team feel like they're moving too slow? Do we feel like that team is moving too slow? And
Mm,
then break it down. Like, if so, why? Why do you feel like you're moving too slow? Because it usually starts with feelings, like, or a deadline is missed, or something is underestimated, and so I think it's important to break it down into the reasons why and look for the causes, and go again and again look for the root causes. And oftentimes, the root cause of slowness is a lack of clarity on goals.
mm.
So I think these things are like deeply interlinked.
I love that. Great line. I would also say to that same, what about goals, right? I mean, you just ended it. So what does a goal look like to you? And is there something that you guys use to track that? And it doesn't have to be, it could just be you specifically. It doesn't have to be the company. But like when you say, I have a goal to achieve this by X date, right? Are you writing it down on a piece of paper, and how do you translate that and communicate that to the team?
Yeah, we don't have we don't use OKRs or anything like that. I think when it comes to goal setting, people overcomplicate it. Like goal setting's hard.
For
It's
sure.
hard to do really well. It's easy to do it terribly. But you
Hmm.
can go into companies and see like spreadsheets of goals and OKRs and deadlines and metrics and targets, and people get lost in it. Ours is extremely simple. Um, we actually phrase it slightly differently. We have objectives. Like the objective is the goal. It's like what's the objective? The company typically has kind of two, three, four core objectives at any one time, and then we break the objective into work streams. So that might be like the three, four subcomponents of the objective. So we're trying to achieve objectives. So, like for example, an objective might be that we're trying to launch customer agent in the market, or we're trying to make it successful once it's launched in the market. And then the work streams are like the subcomponents of what's needed to do that. And the work streams are fluid; they change, and the teams that we build around them are fluid. So, Intercom, kind of like SaaS era Intercom, was very structured, and as a result, kind of quite predictable. Like we could confidently predict what we'd build, why we'd build it, how we'd market it. It was very, very and like that was good. You know, it was a thing we were good at for a long time. That none of that works anymore. AI is way too unpredictable. It changes way too fast. Building an AI product is not a predictable endeavor. It's hard to know if something's actually going to work for real. Easy to build demos and prototypes. It's really hard to build something that truly works in the market at scale. And so we kind of have changed how we work into these fluid teams, these work streams. People move in and out of them. Like on the product building side, sometimes the work stream could have two designers in it, then it might have none, and then it might be four. You know, so we move people around fluidly based on the needs of the project at any one point in time.
That's cool. No, that's really, really helpful. And I think from my internal perspective, what you displayed is a great usage of how to, when you have a large team of people, talented people, how you move them, and you that could easily be applied to smaller teams as well, I'm sure. So I want to get into the marketing aspect of it. And you wrote an article about the old way of marketing and how you believe the old way of marketing is actually broken in the age
Yeah.
of AI. And I kind of want to get your perspective of what that means to you specifically. And what are some of the habits that you believe that we need to more or less unlearn as we go into this new age of AI?
Yeah. We, we, um, I think we had maybe 15 years, maybe, certainly a decade of a very stable technology environment. So, you know, if you go back to like iPhone, mobile, so like 2007, 2008, but once you kind of get into like 2020, 2011, 2012, things had kind of stabilized again, like SaaS had kind of stabilized and there's best practices and things like that. So we had a decade of stability where, you know, there was like good ways to build software and good ways to market software and best practices and so on. Some things kind of come in and out of fashion, like growth and sales led or self serve, but it was a pretty stable environment. And a lot of people like entered the workforce during that time and learned that that's how you work. Like these are the things you do. Like I went to university and I studied business or I studied economics or marketing and I learned all the case studies. And now I'm in the workforce and oh yeah, this is how it plays out in reality too. Very, very predictable, consistent, stable. And I think things, because it was so stable, it got complicated. Like people started adding things to the process. There was no, like there is now, fluid, dynamic. Oh my God, what's the future look like? No one knows. Who will the winners be? No one knows. You know, what will things look like in a year from now in terms of AI's capabilities? No one knows. So it's very, very different now. And as a result, I think marketing became quite bloated. I think it became highly specialized. I think people were looking for like career progression or something that they could like self-identify with as their thing that they're really good at. That made them unique in the company or very valuable in the company. And I think that like took us away from the fundamentals of great marketing. I think the fundamentals of great marketing have not changed for 100 years. You know, you can read like the best book on positioning, I think was written in the 1950s. Like there's still just tried and tested foundations. And I think people just kind of lost them. So they started doing things like, um, you know, talking in ways that humans don't talk. Like that doesn't help sell something or explain something. You're adding adjectives and wordplay, and in doing so, you're changing the meaning of what you're trying to communicate, or you're making it harder to communicate. And so this kind of just like I think exploded, and it was everywhere, and people were emulating each other. So I think the whole discipline became really complicated, overly specialized. People lost what's really great. Like this is communication, human communication. People lost the foundations of like human psychology and how people think and how they process information. What does great communication design look like? And like back to the billboard, you know, it was like just say the thing. Like people will love it or hate it, but it'll be clear what Intercom is. And it was true. You know, like we measured things months later, and we'd ask questions like, "What is Intercom?" And people would literally recite the billboard in their words to us. So, but there's a tendency that that's boring, or, so I think marketing kind of lost its way, to be honest. And I think thankfully that is an amazing opportunity to correct that. Like, we have an entirely new technology cycle. It's going to be a very, very big one, probably bigger than the internet itself in terms of how it will change how society works. And we've an opportunity to kind of do things in a new way, in a better way. And I think we're going to go back to the foundations of like good writing, excellent communication, humans being humans, people being people, not trying to be something else or abstracted away with some fancy words. So it's exciting to me. I think there's like a new, like, if the Mad Men era was the golden age of advertising, I think there's an opportunity for another one.
I'm just curious. I'm not saying I agree or disagree with this, but do you feel like it's slightly contradictory when it's like an AI company that is, pushing forward with AI, but then going back to the roots of like traditional advertising and writing? Like, are you writing this copy, or more or less like human to human, or are you using AI and modifying and tweaking in order to obtain that language that you're looking for?
Um, like, to kind of answer your question in different ways, nothing that we publish was like generated by AI and hit the publish button. I think that's a terrible idea. I think a lot of people are doing it. That's why you have AI slop, and it's going to increase because people are, busy and inherently lazy sometimes. And it's
Not
going to
sometimes. Come on,
yeah,
man. Let's be honest. They're lazy all the time.
yeah. So like that problem's going to get worse, but people are incredibly good. I mean, it's survival, right? This is like hundreds of years of evolution, many tens of thousands of years of evolution. People are incredibly good at detecting bullshit. They're incredibly good at like seeing what's real and what's not real. And sometimes it's even a feeling that they can't quite articulate in words. So I think it's a terrible idea to AI generate marketing. However, AI is an incredible tool. You can use it to help you, and we do that all the time. We're using AI all the time to help us generate new ideas, pressure test things we've got, do research for us. That's exceptionally important and really valuable. But I think that we're going to see a huge move towards marketing content that is very, very raw. It's very real. I think like polished marketing content's dead. It's over. You won't. It'll be indistinguishable from a lot of the AI stuff, and no one will really know. And so people are going to gravitate to real things that they think are real for sure, like, or it's verifiably real. There's like proof. I don't know how you can prove I'm not like some Synthesia created AI version of Paul Adams, right? But like there will be. That's what people will look for, and so I think that that all companies are going to build AI products. They will have to in order to succeed, or AI versions of the things that they market and sell. And so AI has become, it'll move into the background the same way the internet did, the same way mobile did. But I think the marketing that will cut through for all these companies will need to be very human. I think the more powerful AI becomes, the more present it becomes in society, where it's just a part of all of our lives all the time. People are going to really value what is uniquely human. And so I think the marketing that will work will be unique with those characteristics that make us like uniquely human, like flaws and all.
You're falling right into my trap, because I literally have like these notes, and a question is about the rawness of brands. Obviously, 300 million in at least, I believe that's what I heard you say, 300-ish million in revenue. Huge accomplishment, right? There's a lot of money and there's a lot of brains and power and things of that nature behind the brand, right? What are some suggestions to people that are listening that, let's be honest, don't have 300 plus $1 million, and how can they be raw? How can they attract their customer base and turn them into loyal fans? And I say loyal because we at Penji as a company have been very loyal to Intercom for years. We don't want to go anywhere else. It's honestly one of my favorite tools that we use as a business. And so as a company, we're loyal. And that's even without really the marketing aspects of it. It's just a really good product. So how can companies who are young, or even the companies that have teams, how can they produce content that's just raw and honest and real and fun and cool?
Yeah, well, thank you for being a loyal Intercom customer.
Yeah, of course, man.
Um,
Of course.
I think like if you want to build a great company, there's some things that are just invariably true, and I think very much so these days. So number one is the product. I'll get to the content piece in a sec. The product must be good, and this was true with the early internet too. I research a lot. I'm kind of very passionate about technology and how technology evolves and all that kind of. Anyway, I went down a big deep research rabbit hole at the kind of start of the AI thing. Like, why did Google win? Those Alta Vista, Ask Jeeves, Excite, like Lycos, right? Yahoo, the list goes on. Why did Google win? One reason they won is because the product was better. PageRank, it was just a way better product. And I think this is true, very true today. So if you want to win in your category, no matter what the category is, and no matter how big or small the company is, your product must be really good, like objectively good. Customers say that's a really, really good product. The AI really, truly works. Like it's not making stuff up, or it's truly good, and that's a hard bar to clear as a starting point. But it needs to be really good. And then if you have a good product that people really value, so it's solving a real problem, it's solving a problem that people have a lot of energy for, and it's a good product, you will get an early cohort of customers that are passionate about the product just naturally. And I think a lot of it goes back to kind of basic fundamentals of building a business. Talk to those people, meet them, shake their hands, meet them in real life. Let them become advocates because they want to, not because you're trying to force them through some referral thing, or and and become really comfortable in like being yourself. Turning the people that are in the company external. I think like that's how business has always worked for like many, many thousands of years up until like recent decades. All face to face, people literally shaking hands and smiling and building relationships like one interaction at a time, slowly but surely over the years. And so I think that the content, assuming you have a good product and assuming you've got like an early cohort of customers who are like naturally excited about it, then you need to just externalize that. Demo the product, record, just like I'm doing a lot of stuff like this, just into camera. We're doing a lot of stuff demoing the product. We're getting our customers to show other people what they're doing with the product. Hey, there's a huge, huge, almost insatiable demand for education right now. People just want to learn how AI works. Maybe it's coming from a place of fear that they're going to fall behind, or maybe it's just like excitement to learn and progress their career. But everyone is like in this deep mode of like really wanting to learn. So if you're a company that can teach others how to use the product, how to get value from it, and use your customers as examples, that'll go a huge way. You'll get a lot from that. And then it compounds. Like the more customers you can get that are excited to talk and tell your story, then you can continue to expand that. But I think it's really important that people get out there, warts and all, the real you, the raw you. It's uncomfortable, it's awkward, but I think it's necessary.
So would you say that the education piece is also the content?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think like in the past, here's where I think things have worked in the past, and I don't think this has probably ever worked, but it's certainly not going to work now, which is people trying to think of things to say. Like, like let's run a campaign. What might that campaign be? What should we talk about? I think that's the wrong place to start. The place to start is, what do people want to hear?
Mm.
What are they asking about? What are they saying themselves? Like, and if you start from that place, that kind of place of customer insight, then whatever is of most value to people is what you should talk about. In this case, I think right now, especially in our world of customer service and customer experience, it's education. I think that's probably true for a lot of domains, especially in
Yeah,
B2B software.
for sure.
Like, if you're building a coding tool, and like all teams are getting ripped apart, they're getting restructured. No one knows how to do it yet. There's no tried and tested way. Everyone's experimenting all the time. Some PMs are becoming designers. Some designers are becoming PMs. I'm a product leader running marketing. Like all this stuff is moving around. And so any education around like ways to do it or things to try has huge resonance in the market. But at some point that'll fade away. Like in 2 or 3 years, we will have best practices again, and things might become a bit more predictable and stable. And then I think that the people's energy will turn to something else.
Yeah. I just because I want to kind of paint a picture for the people that are listening and watching. Like, I know I've seen a couple of videos of yourself, and they're explaining things, very similar to what you just said behind the camera. Are you thinking like more long-term content or long form content, excuse me, where it's like 3, 5, 10, 15 minutes where you're diving deep into something? Or are you saying that 60-second clippy type of content where it's educational, is that going to be a little bit better for marketing? Like which one would you, if not forcing you to choose, but like, what is your opinion on both?
Yeah, it's a great question because a lot of people these days say that you must do short form content. People don't read or watch long form content. I don't agree with that.
Mm,
Um, I think it's the wrong. I think people are asking the wrong questions, starting from the wrong place. People watch 3 hour movies. They're not like, there's articles like, X now has articles. There's like 500 word articles that have like a million views. People will consume something if it's valuable to them. And so it certainly is the case that like media has changed. Media is always changing, but certainly right now, um, because of the progression of social media products for the most part, video and feeds are dominating. So like, people need to get good at video, and feeds are so passive that, if you don't get someone within the first few seconds, then that's that. But you can get someone in the first few seconds and have something that's 17 minutes long, and sometimes they'll watch the whole thing.
mm,
So like it just depends on what they're looking for, and it depends what the content is. But I do think teams need to be good at video and good at short form content, short form video in particular. I do think people need to be really good at personal brands. So it's real people, short form video. But long form works too. We have like long form content, demos of the product. We have a demo of the product that's 13 minutes long,
yeah,
and like people watch till the end, no problem.
cool.
They're like, I'm here to learn, keep going. Or we have events, like we're doing a lot with events these days, and the events are 30, 40 minutes, an hour long, and like people are engaged the whole time. There's no phones out. People are like listening. So it just depends. I think it depends on the need.
Yeah, that's cool. We're wrapping the conversation a little bit, but I kind of want to understand. Sorry, give me 1 second.